Hi, my name is Kathy Amano, and I'm pleased to present my learning plan reflection. And the 2 points I wanted to focus on for this is the first one will be reflecting on the modifications to my learning plan. And then the second point will be which competency I thought comes easy to me and why. It was interesting for me to go back to my learning plan that I created when I first started my field placement, um, especially after having worked here for a full semester. Most of it, surprisingly, I followed it. It was really geared towards becoming familiar with the internship that I have at a community counseling center. There are over, I believe, 22 therapists here full-time. Talking about the learning plan itself, I really wanted to understand the agency's policies, really understand how they um, uh, manage what structures they have in place, what rules they have in place. I was very pleasantly surprised that it was very, very well run organization here. It's the Western Maryland Counseling Center. And therapists that work here are very pleased. It's a very supportive and collaborative environment. I was able to, another goal I had was developing clinical skills, and I felt like I got a lot of practice with that. The other goal I had was managing cases and documentation. I know that every organization has different systems that they use to document. So I had a big learning curve to tackle with that, but I feel a lot more proficient now. The other thing I was very happy about is I got to, as part of my learning plan, I wanted to, I enjoy working with groups and offering group uh, therapy or group facilitation of workshops. And so every week I shadow my supervisor who runs an excellent DBT workshop for specific clients about that. So what has changed about my learning plan? I mean, those are basically it. I would say that the things that I've added to it from working here is that I'm realizing that I'm very interested in specialized training. I know doing the basics is really important, but I learned through the process and through supervision that it's really important to know your boundaries as a therapist offering basic therapy. I had a number of clients that had experienced tremendous, very difficult challenges with trauma, and I was given guidance that as someone not with trauma experience, that is not something I should delve into. And I was given guidance on how to handle a client who begins to what she called trauma dump, and to discourage that and to tactfully redirect the conversation and to explain why it's to protect the client, that processing deep and serious trauma is very important, but it has to be done in the right time and in the right way and by the right specialist. And in the meantime, what we can do as a general therapists offering more foundational principles is deal with anxiety and the depression and the other symptoms that come out that have come from that trauma. And to help that individual develop coping strategies so that as they develop and become, more capable of processing difficult information, that when they get to that point, a specialist would be trained to really guide them through that deeper work that they would be doing. So I learned that specialist training is important if I'm interested, for example, in working with addiction or couples and children. Boy, another specialty I'm very interested in. So I've kind of opened up a door here before I specialize in one area to really get a glimpse of what different specialties are like. I added that to my learning plan. The other part that I emphasized that I didn't realize so important is self-care. I tend to be a very, victim of what could be, I guess, called compassion fatigue, and also get a little too emotional with connected with clients, and um, was concerned at the beginning about how am I going to manage this without burning out or becoming too stressed, and realized there were terminologies like compassion fatigue. But it, to protect myself and the client, I think it's really important that I add and really emphasize the importance of self-care and professional development. And being more specific, I've added to my learning plan to really understand what professional boundaries are with clients. And I have a very friendly nature about me, and I've always been known to be very authentic and upfront and, not as guarded as most people. But as a clinician, it's so important to exercise great care about the things you say and share. And so I added that into my learning plan as a very, very important point. How to balance relationships so they uh, are very professional and doesn't compromise the professional therapeutic relationship. And just as a, aside, to support the point, I had a client at the very beginning, my first internship, who I connected with right away. She was Asian American, and her past was very similar to mine. And I guess this is part of countertransference and transference, which is something that another very important part of learning how to be a good therapist, is to how to manage those two things. But in any case, midway through the therapy sessions, she started referring to me as her favorite auntie, and I knew I was doing the wrong thing. I was like happy on one level, but I knew I was actually horrified that I'd had a lot to learn. And so, honestly, professional boundaries, I think, is a really important part, not just with clients, but colleagues as well. And I'm navigating that right now, trying to learn about, what is professionalism? We're in a business where we're wanting to encourage people to open up and being warm and friendly and caring. And how do you do all that, but in a safe way, and a way that protects yourself, protects the people around you, and yet you're making a difference in their life and helping them. The second topic to talk about is which social work competency comes easy to me. And I would have to say it's the competency related to engaging in practice-informed research and research-informed practice. That competency comes easy because of my long history of being exposed to CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and dialectical behavioral therapy. Those concepts were introduced to me a long time ago when my teenage children were in treatment. And we were very involved as parents, and I was been given lots of education on those two concepts as research informed coping strategies. And then about 2.5 years ago, I started working at a residential treatment center where I had the opportunity to not only be immersed in CBT and DBT, but I started holding weekly workshops, facilitating workshops almost on a daily basis, using an 8-week model for both CBT and DBT, really breaking down the skills and working one-on-one with small groups, about 8 people, either adolescent groups or adult groups. And that was that was a very, very, I enjoyed that interaction, not because, it was very challenging. I have found that it doesn't, even though the concepts are great, not everybody receives them. It all depends on where they are in their recovery, in their illness, how open they are to these concepts. And I feel like I've had a chance to practice quite a bit and on how to modify some of my approaches to these concepts so that there's, just shifting and adjusting for who I'm working with, where they are in their journey, and their, outlook. Once I started my internship, and this internship, as a therapist, a clinical therapist, I have relied so much on the these skills in my practice. I tried to give something tangible, and I approach my clients as saying, I'm here to help you with with coping strategies, but I call them tools. So by the time they feel like they've been really gained a lot of tools and ready to go out and really manage their lives, equipped with these tools, then I feel like I've done my job. So in any case, that is my response to this assignment, and thank you for listening.